Hey YouTube, having problems with my secondary camera operation thingy. So I would normally have the secondary camera pointing at the amp I'm about to demo, and you can see it there. It's been sitting in below this cover all week, tantalising me, thinking what that's like. So this is a Victory. I'll just stand over here and shout so you can see it, but you won't be able to see it because I'll be standing in front of it when I'm playing it. So it's a Victory, the Sherrif 44, which I think, I might be wrong, is like the Marshall, is it the JTM 45? It might be quite similar to that, I'm not really sure. It's got 2 inputs, whereas I think the JTM 45's got 4, because I think you can swap them, you can patch them together somehow. So it's got 2 inputs, a volume of 1 and a 2 for the 2 inputs, treble, middle, bass, presence, master volume, a high and low button, which I've not tried yet. I basically just plugged it in to make sure it worked. And then like a 3-way switch for your standby and thing. So it's got like off, preheat, and on. Yeah, there is a switch on the back. There's something about cathode, which I'll try pressing later. But so 45 watts. But you've got a volume and a master, which I already quite like. Trust me, in volume 1, the volume's at, I don't know, 4. Everyone else is pretty much at 12. The master's at like 2 or something. This doesn't have a cabinet in it, so it's plugged into the 3x12, which is actually quite a good comparison with the orange. But they're highlighting my point earlier on about you can probably get this in a combo version like this, and that's how big. So the combo would be this size, so you're really talking about basically just exactly twice the size, and it's got a speaker in it. And if it's like the orange one, it may actually be cheaper to buy it. I do get that does look cooler sitting on top of a 4x12 than a 1x12 combo does sitting on top, because obviously it's got the same outputs on the back. I'm assuming Victory do that. Orange certainly do. The orange heads, actually I think that orange head seems bigger than that. And obviously I'm using the corker. But I'm really liking the way, well, I suppose it's just kind of unique to the orange. I'm using because I've got my loop pedals and distortion pedals and stuff set up, I just use the clean channel on the orange, and all you've got on that is a volume, bass and treble. Whereas in this one you've got a gain and a volume, which means you don't have to have the volume quite as just when it's just coming in. It seemed, you know, I was just terrified it'd been 45 watts, it was going to be loud as hell. But the volumes, that's at like 1 or 2 or something, that's at 4, and it's still playing. Also there's a half button, hold on, hit low even. It's a lot quieter when you use low. But I don't exactly know what high and low is compared to this one is half and full. So half power, full power. That's easy to understand. High and low, not so sure. I'd imagine it's so you can probably run that amp. I'm thinking about this logically. This is an old amp, this is a modern thing, or an old design. So when you actually switch between half and full on the front, it's not hugely apparent what the difference is until you start getting up to volume, and the lower power modes start dying, sort of thing, and just not being as useful when you're playing along with a drum kit. But in the house you don't need anything else. Whereas this might be for more of an attenuator rather than just using half the valves. Maybe get it cleaner than that by turning the master volume up. And well, it's very new sound. There's no crackle in those knobs. But I'm pretty much already assuming that basically I could have this amp, no bother at all. Well, the way I would be using it is as a, because I'm using it, as I said, with the loop pedal and stuff, I would have it just basically playing clean and then using my pedals over the top, so that there would be my clean. I do have a reverb pedal on. Just see if it likes the rat pedal. Maybe not initially as good on the rat pedal as I was expecting. How about the Royal British sound? Now, I'm sitting here wondering, I'm not sure, I wish I had, I suppose I could probably put the original, no, I've just used the same power supply and the same speaker cabinet as yours, so I can't switch between them quite as easily as I would like to. If I'd set it up, I would do it just now, but I haven't, so I won't. It seems choked somehow. Danger of it might not work properly at room volume. I think maybe it's just getting louder. That's why it's getting better, sounding better. So what happens if we crank the gain? Real valve distortion. The reverb seems to be changing. There's something very familiar about when I turn reverb pedals off, the way it has been up here for years until relatively recently. Is that because I had the reverb before the distortion? Because obviously a reverb pedal is not in an effects loop, which this might have. I will check. I actually tried to use the effects loop in the orange. It didn't work. I wonder if I'll maybe try it again. Because no, why does it sound fine into the orange? Because the orange I'm not using the distortion pedals before it. Oh yeah, it's got big knobs, big cooker knobs, but there's lots of room for different distortion sounds in there because the knob's so big. Do I put the reverb back on again? I'm not using that much distortion. It just seems so much reverb. What's going on? There's a wee switch on the top that would go into spring, not room. It's quite nice using valve distortion. I never get the chance to use it apart from when I was in the band. Not in the band anymore, so obviously still after the end, not leaving them, but the Krankenhaus band. It was quite fun. The Sovtek was particularly good at that. That kind of clean when you strum it, distorted when you hit it, sort of thing. Let's clean it. I take it volume 2 is just going to be the same. I wonder if it's a different sounding channel. If anything, I would say more distorted. Just because humbuckers, these are really powerful. But that is a clean sound. The rat pedal doesn't like it the way it's set up just now. Can't tell if there's a difference between channels 1 and 2. I don't think I'm giving this a real fair run. I'd like to try this in the studio with a band. I bet you it's really good. I'm actually quite pleased I don't have a decision to make with this amp, which is the decision that I've pretty much failed to make with the Orange and the Peavey and the wee Laney, because I don't need all three of them. I only need one of them, and I can't decide which one it is I like. The Peavey Valve King, I think it's 50 watt 1x12, the Orange 30 watt 1x12, and the Laney 15 watt 1x10, which it's just in the fighting over which is the one I should really have, because the thing about the Laney, the Peavey and this one both have a 12-inch speaker, which is good enough. Like the Laney's only get a 10, which is alright. Not as good as a 12 though. But on the other side, the Laney weighs half as much and is physically, doesn't look that much smaller, but is physically just that much smaller. It's so much easier to carry about. That's like a pallet of bricks, as is the Peavey. So I don't need to worry about keeping that or not, because it's not mine. The juice of the shot of it, I mean, maybe just go for purist mode, eh? So, none effects, straight into input 1. for the pure raw tone. Obviously, it means there's no reverb now as well. But hey, but all that capacitance is gone. I think I could tell the difference when with all the pedals not in the line, even though they're all true bypass and all that nonsense. Feels very much like we've got no safety net on. I'm missing reverb though. It's very nice. I mean, I could just spend all day, especially sitting with a lovely guitar of your choice and just that amp on its own. I could sit and turn it away with the 3x12 cabinet. It is awful good. I'm going to give it the 3x12 being my favourite type of guitar cabinet. It's all the speakers are pointing in different directions, which is great, but also it's actually significantly smaller than a 4x12. Like, tiny compared to a 4x12, because I know my pal had one sitting in my hall for the last 6 months, or a couple of months. He was trying to sell it, and it was just like, Jesus! You know, out to about here, and out to about here, and up to about here. It's like, I didn't realise how much smaller the 3x12 was, because I haven't seen a 4 for ages, because that's a 1x15, and that's a 2x12, and that's a 1x15. Or that, yeah. So I'm going to have to, I was thinking, looking at this earlier on, I have to get this working, because it's kind of, looks a bit like that. I'm not even sure it's even plugged in. No. The volume control, the two most important ones, gain and volume, are both really, really crackly, and I took it to bits and absolutely flooded it with a contact cleaner, which made it work perfectly, and then I put it back together, and a couple of days after that it just stopped working. The buttons are so temperamental, I just need to get new pots, which can't be that hard to do. Because like that, I can't imagine, I can't wait to hear what that sounds like with the clean sounds, because it's the most cleanest amp ever. That one. Oh. All solid state as well. These are all valvey jobs. But solid state amps, I'm sorry, they just can't do that sound. It just sounds like a valve amp. As in, you only need one sound and you do the whole gig. There's your clean. More distortion. Telecaster. Distortion. Anyway. Now it's starting to sound like a big amp. Like there, I can kind of hear it not having enough balls. It's like, turn me up louder! The good sounds aren't here yet. I'm missing the reverb though. Has to be said. So here it is without the reverb, all the pedals off. Sounds more distant. I think this guitar is just awful good. It seems to be so... It's got those pickups like the Steve Vai Evil ones, which I'm scared of playing, where you hear all the notes evenly, or if you don't hear them evenly, it's because you didn't hit them evenly, which is why you don't hear them when I'm playing. So much more dynamics. You don't. It's just something like on your cheaper guitars, you just don't get dynamics, which is something I've always really thought but never really put it into words before. Like, the ability to play it quietly and it still sounds pretty good. That wasn't even me dialed in particularly clean. Rats! Fuck it. I think if you had to give me the choice, I would have to say Fender if it was Fender or Gibson. Just for the single coil, or single coil versus humbucker. But even in the single coily sounds like this do sound good with drive on them, whereas the humbucker sounds just don't. Well, okay, maybe they do sound quite good. It's not the same though. As opposed to meant to be a review of the Victory amp. Yes, it seems to be very good. I like it. I could use it absolutely no bother. If it did come down to, I could easily have had that instead of, well, probably instead of the Soft Tech. In fact, instead of any, that'd be a fine guitar amp for me. Like I said, if I was looking at them, you can probably, I know you can with the orange. I'm reiterating this again, but I would rather have the combo one, especially if you're buying it used where it's cheaper. Like in that situation, get maybe the 1x12 combo version, which I'm sure exists. There might even be a 2x12 one or something like that, just to make it less things to carry about. But even then, you can say, oh, but every time you go to a gig, they've got a cabinet. Yeah, they possibly do, but the difference is you're not really taking up that much less room having the head. And in that one, you turn up and, oh, we said there was a cabinet, but there isn't one. It means you can still play with a 1x12. And it'd be fine. Just not as good as a 4x12. I'd be tempted to use a 1x12 anyway. Because at least it's a known speaker. Whatever you put in it. I don't even know what's in that. Just the stock one. These are expensive speakers I've got it playing through though. They're Celestion greenbacks from 1980, whatever it is, England. That's one thing maybe put me off. This one does actually. I haven't ripped it off, obviously, but it's got there's a Union Jack on the top of it. It's alright. There's a big saltire over there to cancel it out. But this guitar. I'm going to make this guitar the best in the world. Next couple of months, I'm just fidgeting with it, getting it absolutely perfect. It's still a little bit, a wee bit spanky feeling there somewhere. The frets aren't absolutely perfect, but I'm liking the 6-position sitch now. Having the two middle sounds though, inner and outer coil. This is outer coils. This is inner coils. Both are good. I have to say that there's not a huge difference in sound between the Orange and the Victory from doing what I'm doing just there. You could have told you which one I was playing through. I think part of that is the fact that I'm basically running both of them on sort of clean mode at like about a tenth of the volume that they're kind of designed to be run at. So neither of them are really. I think once you start pumping the volume up to half on that, it'll sound like a Victory Sherrif. And if you pump the Orange up to half volume, it'll start sounding like an Orange. Rather than at sort of lower volumes, it's a bit less distinctive what kind of amp it is you're playing through. I think that might all be absolute nonsense. But I'm going to plug that in and see if I can make that work. I want to play this through that for overload of wood and brownness. I'll see if I can find some brown clothes to wear. Rock on!